Marronage and secret societies imagine a world where your language, your religion, even your name are forbidden. Where every gesture, every song, every prayer must bow to a master's orders. How do you survive without losing your soul? This was the challenge faced by millions of enslaved Africans. Marronage, the flight of enslaved people, and secret societies were their most powerful weapons. Far from the plantations, in forests and mountains, they rebuilt free worlds. In the huts, under the master's watchful eyes, they wove invisible networks of resistance. This course will show you how, through cunning, faith, and organization, the enslaved transformed suffering into strength, and oppression into freedom. Get ready to discover a story of courage and genius, written in the shadows but radiant with light. 1. Fundamental Concepts 1.1. What is Marronage? Marronage refers to the flight of enslaved people from plantations or forced labor sites, to escape oppression and reclaim lost freedom. This phenomenon, massive and continuous throughout the Atlantic slave trade 15th to 19th centuries, took two main forms: petit marronage, temporary flight, from a few days to a few weeks, often to protest an injustice or punishment. The enslaved person would hide nearby, sometimes returning after negotiation. Grand marronage, permanent flight to inaccessible areas: mountains, dense forests, swamps. Maroons then founded autonomous communities, called quilombos in Brazil, palenques in Spanish America, and maroon societies in the English-speaking Caribbean. Marronage is not a simple individual act, it is a collective strategy of resistance, involving meticulous organization, networks of solidarity, and deep knowledge of the terrain. Maroons became symbols of freedom, folk heroes, and sometimes war leaders. 1.2. What are secret societies? Secret societies are closed organizations, often initiatory in nature, that operate in secrecy. In the context of slavery, they played a crucial role in cultural preservation and spiritual resistance. They enabled transmission of African knowledge, languages, religions, medicine, arts forbidden by the masters. Organization of resistance, revolts, sabotage, escapes without arousing suspicion. Maintenance of social cohesion and collective identity in the face of dehumanization. These societies drew inspiration from African initiatory structures like Paro or Sandi in West Africa and often blended with syncretic religious practices VOD. OU, Candomblé, Santeria. 1.3. The links between Marronage and secret societies. Secret societies often served as a foundation for Marronage. They provided a communication network, coded messages, recognition signs, meeting places. Logistical support, food, weapons, shelter. Spiritual protection, rituals to ensure the success of the flight, blessings, amulets. An ideology of resistance, myths of return to Africa, figures of liberating heroes. Conversely, maroon communities often developed their own secret societies to protect themselves from external attacks and preserve their autonomy. 2. In-depth study 2.1. Marronage in Africa and the Americas. In Africa, Marronage existed long before the Atlantic slave trade. Individuals or groups fled political oppression, debts, or conflicts. With the slave trade, it intensified. Entire villages moved to refuge areas: mountains, islands, forests. Example: the fugitives of the Congo Kingdom, who created communities in the Bangu Mountains. In the Americas, Marronage took on considerable proportions. In Brazil, the Quilombo of Palmares 1605 to 1694 gathered up to 30,000 people, with sophisticated political, economic, and military organization. In Jamaica, the Maroons, descendants of fugitive enslaved people, resisted the British for decades, obtaining peace treaties recognizing their freedom. In the Guianas, the Ndayuka and Saramaka founded matrilineal societies, with their own languages and customs. 2.2. Secret societies as vectors of resistance. Haitian Vodou, born from a blend of African beliefs: Fon, Yoruba, Congo, and Catholic influence, Vodou was the cement of the Haitian Revolution 1791 to 1804. The Bois Cayman ceremony, in August 1791, led by Vodou priest Duty Boukman, sparked the general insurrection. Vodou secret societies like the Bazango served as popular courts and resistance networks. The Abakwa in Cuba, a male secret society of ethnic origin Nigeria, the Abakwa were founded by enslaved black people in the early 19th century. Their rituals, songs, and dances preserved African memory and served as mutual aid societies. They participated in the struggles for Cuban independence. Poro and Sandi, in West Africa, these initiatory societies were reactivated in Maroon communities in the Americas. They ensured the education of youth, transmission of values, and social cohesion. 2.3 Strategies of Resistance. Between adaptation and innovation, Maroons and secret societies developed remarkable strategies. Guerrilla warfare, use of terrain, ambushes, lightning raids. Subsistence economy, agriculture, hunting, gathering, trade with plantations. Diplomacy, negotiations with colonial authorities, obtaining treaties. Cultural preservation, Creole languages, syncretic religions, martial arts, capoeira. Spiritual resistance, protection rituals, sorcery, liberation prophecies. 2.4 Historiographical debates. Historians debate the relative importance of Marronage. Some see it as heroic and massive resistance, others as a marginal phenomenon. Secret societies are sometimes idealized as bastions of African purity, whereas they were also places of power and hierarchy. Since their archives are often oral or destroyed, their study is complex. 3. Examples. Example 1. The Quilombo of Palmares, Brazil. Context: colonial Brazil, late 16th century. Enslaved Africans flee sugar cane plantations and take refuge in the Palmares forest, in present-day Alagoas state. Organization: Palmares was a confederation of several villages, led by elected kings Ganga Zumbi. The economy was based on agriculture: corn, cassava, beans, livestock, and trade with colonists. Resistance: the Portuguese and Dutch launched many expeditions to destroy Palmares. The Maroons used guerrilla warfare, wooden fortifications, and traps. Fall: in 1694, after a long siege, leader Zumbi was captured and executed. Palmares was destroyed, but its myth remains alive. Example 2. The Maroons of Jamaica. Context: Jamaica, 17th to 18th centuries. Enslaved Africans, mostly Akan, flee British plantations and take refuge in the interior mountains. Organization: two main groups, the Eastern Maroons led by Nani, a female leader, and the Western Maroons led by Cudjoe. They lived in fortified villages, with limited agriculture and trade. Resistance: guerrilla warfare against the British, using horns to communicate, traps, and ambushes. In 1739 to 1740, treaties were signed. The Maroons obtained their freedom and land, in exchange for returning fugitive enslaved people. Legacy: Jamaican Maroons have preserved their culture, language, music, religion to this day. Example 3. The Bois Cayman ceremony. Haiti. Context: Saint-Domingue, Haiti, 1791. Enslaved people are the majority, subjected to a brutal regime. Vodou secret societies organize resistance. Event: on the night of August 14 to 15, 1791, a great ceremony took place in the Bois Cayman forest. Vodou priest Dudi Boukman sacrificed a black pig and called on the enslaved to revolt. Participants swore to fight to the death. Consequences: a few days later, a general insurrection erupted, leading to Haiti's independence in 1804. Bois Cayman is considered the founding act of the Haitian Revolution. Example 4. The Abakwa in Cuba. Context: Cuba, early 19th century. Enslaved people of ethnic origin Nigeria create a male secret society, the Abakwa, to preserve their culture and help each other. Organization: strict hierarchy, dignitaries, initiates, outsiders. Complex rituals with drums, dances, and masks. Each group Dwego has its own temple. Resistance: the Abakwa participated in the struggles for Cuban independence and were persecuted by authorities. They also influenced Cuban music and dance rumba, conga. Legacy: the Abakwa still exist today, though their role has evolved. Example 5. The Ndayuka Guyana. Context: Guyana, Suriname, 18th century. Enslaved Africans flee Dutch plantations and settle in the Amazon rainforest. Organization: the Ndayuka Orakan form a matrilineal society, with autonomous villages, a subsistence economy, and their own legal system. Their language is a Creole based on English and African languages. Resistance: guerrilla warfare against the Dutch, who eventually signed a peace treaty in 1760, recognizing their freedom. Legacy: the Ndayuka have preserved their culture and autonomy to this day, though threatened by mining. Example 6, Female Secret Societies Sandy, etc. Context, in West Africa and the Americas, women also had their secret societies, like Sandy Liberia, Sierra Leone or women's societies on plantations. Role, education of young girls, transmission of female knowledge medicine, childbirth, songs, protection against violence. They could also organize discreet sabotage poisoning, arson. Example, on plantations in South Carolina, enslaved women used coded songs to warn of escapes. 4. Method and tips to analyze Marronage and secret societies. Adopt a multidimensional approach. Social, who are the Maroons? Their age, sex, ethnic origin? How do they organize? Economic, how do they survive? What exchanges with the outside? Political, what internal power relations? What alliances with other groups? Cultural, which African traditions are preserved? How do they transform? Spiritual, what role does religion play? How do beliefs support resistance? Tip, use the concepts of everyday resistance. James C. Scott and agency, the capacity of the dominated to act to avoid reducing enslaved people to passive victims. Marronage is a massive and organized flight of enslaved people, founding free communities. Secret societies are initiatory organizations that preserve African culture and organize resistance. Marronage and secret societies are often linked, the latter prepare and support the former. Quilombos Brazil, Palenques Spanish America, and Maroon societies Caribbean are examples of Maroon communities. Secret societies like Vodou, Abakwa, or Poro played a key role in spiritual and political resistance. Maroon resistance combines guerrilla warfare, diplomacy, subsistence economy, and cultural preservation. Women had an active role in Marronage and secret societies, often underestimated. Marronage contributed to the formation of new cultural identities: Creole, syncretic. Peace treaties with Maroons. Jamaica, Guyana show their political power. The study of Marronage and secret societies is a debated historiographical field. To analyze Marronage and secret societies, adopt a multidimensional approach: social, economic, political, cultural, and spiritual. Use the concepts of everyday resistance and agency to avoid reducing enslaved people to passive victims. Compare different regions Americas, Africa to identify similarities and specificities. To go further, consult the works of John Thornton, Africa and Africans in the Making of the Atlantic World, Richard Price, Maroon Societies, and Carolyn Fick, The Making of Haiti. The film Quilombo by Carlos Diegues 1984 offers a vivid representation of Palmares. The website Maroon Communities in the Americas, University of Florida provides online resources.